The neon lights hummed faintly, their glow cutting through the encroaching dusk, as Terrence brought his weathered pickup to a halt in front of a humble roadside bar. Elliot's taproom sat quietly just off Highway 74, its unassuming facade a beacon for weary travelers, locals seeking solace, and truckers chasing a brief reprieve. The bar wasn't remarkable. Its charm lay in its simplicity, a safe haven where life's chaos paused for a moment. Terrence, just a week returned from his deployment, felt the weight of civilian life already creeping in. He craved an interlude, a fleeting escape before diving back into the responsibilities waiting at home. He pushed open the heavy creaking door, stepping into a space thick with murmured conversation and the steady cadence of Johnny Cash drifting from an ancient jukebox. Scanning the room, Terrence noted the familiar crowd, regulars hunched over pool tables, a lively cluster at the bar trading jokes, and a few solitary figures nursing their drinks in quiet contemplation. This wasn't a place for making connections, and Terrence wasn't looking for any. He slipped into a secluded table near the back, blending into the dim light like a shadow. His uniform, though muted in the low glow, was unmistakable, marred only by the scuffed sneakers on his feet, more a statement of comfort than presentation. He ordered a simple glass of water, sipping it slowly while his thoughts wandered to home. He could almost hear the warmth of his mother's laughter, and picture the uncontainable joy of his niece's voice. But his reverie shattered as the bar's door slammed open, the jarring sound cutting through the calm like a blade. A group of 6 entered, their boots thudding against the wooden floorboards, announcing their presence with authority. These were men who carried themselves with unspoken history. Leather jackets adorned with patches that whispered stories of brotherhood and battles won long ago. Their laughter was rough, their camaraderie unrestrained as they moved confidently to the bar. Terrence barely glanced at them, intent on maintaining his distance, but one of them wasn't content with passing glances. The leader of the pack, a burly figure with a salt and pepper beard and eyes that burned with curiosity and something colder, halted mid-laugh. He muttered low to his group, and suddenly, 6 pairs of eyes turned toward Terrence, the air in the room shifting with an almost tangible tension. Terrence felt their gaze like a heavy weight pressing on his shoulders, but didn't flinch. He'd felt this before, this silent judgment, the unspoken demand to prove himself. He took another sip of water, letting the music from the jukebox fill the spaces where words might spark fire. At the bar, the men huddled closer, their voices dropping but carrying a pointed edge. The leader murmured something that drew a laugh, their gaze flitting back to Terrence like predators circling prey. Though his body remained composed, every fiber of Terrence's being was on alert. Years of training had honed him into someone who could read a room, anticipate movements before they happened. And right now, the room pulsed with an unease that prickled at his instincts. The group rose, their heavy steps reverberating as they crossed the room with deliberate purpose. The leader walked ahead, his stature commanding, his eyes fixed on Terrence with predatory focus. The lively hum of the bar dulled, conversations faltered, and the bartender paused mid-pour. Even the jukebox seemed to lower its tune as the moment stretched thin. "Hey!" the leader barked, stopping a mere breath away from Terrence's table, his voice rough like gravel underfoot. "Nice uniform you got there. Where'd you pick it up? A costume shop?" Mocking laughter rippled through the group behind him, their eyes glinting with amusement as they drank in their leader's bravado. Terrence raised his gaze, his expression unchanging, steady against the brewing storm. "It's mine," he said evenly, his voice measured, refusing to yield an inch. "Earned it." The leader feigned surprise, his eyebrows arched high as he leaned closer, the stench of alcohol rolling off him in waves. "Earned it, huh? Funny, I've seen real soldiers, and none of them wear sneakers with their fatigues. You playing dress up for sympathy? Or is this your ticket to a free drink?" The men roared with laughter, each quip stoking the fire of their confidence. Terrence's jaw tightened imperceptibly, but his voice remained steady, unshaken. "I don't need sympathy or free drinks. Just here for my evening." But the leader wasn't ready to let him off so easily. His smirk sharpened, his words laced with venom. "You don't look like a soldier to me. Where's your boots? Your tags? Hell, I bet you don't even know how to salute." The room watched in collective silence as the tension coiled tighter. Terrence held the man's gaze, his voice calm but resolute. "I don't need to prove anything to you." The leader's smirk faltered for just a second, his eyes flickering with hesitation. But pride pulled him forward, his bravado doubling down. "Yeah, prove it. Show us your tags. Or you're just another liar." The room seemed to freeze, all eyes darting between the 2 men, waiting for the breaking point. Terrence exhaled slowly, his muscles taut, his voice cutting through the charged air. I don't owe you proof. But if you think picking a fight here is a good idea, I suggest you think again. It was a warning, clear and unshakable. But it wasn't enough to quell the flames. With a sneer, the leader lunged forward, reaching for Terrence's collar. And in an instant, the room erupted into chaos. The bar buzzed with tension, the air crackling like a storm about to break. A male officer's voice cut through the thick silence, steady and firm. We got a call about an altercation. Can someone explain what's going on here? Hank, his face flushed and his wrist cradled like a fragile treasure, was the first to speak. His trembling finger shot out, accusing. That guy assaulted me. And he's impersonating a soldier. Look at him. He doesn't even have proper boots. The officer's gaze shifted to Terrence, who stood by his table, his posture calm but watchful. Is that true? The officer asked, his tone carefully neutral. Terrence held his ground, meeting the officer's eyes with a measured shake of his head. No, sir. This man and his friends came at me, claiming I'm not a real soldier. When he grabbed me, I defended myself. A female officer stepped forward, her gaze sweeping the room like a lighthouse beam. Did anyone witness what happened? Her voice carried a quiet authority that demanded answers. Breaking the uneasy silence, the bartender spoke up. I saw it. Hank went after him first. That soldier just defended himself. It wasn't assault. A murmur rippled through the room. A patron near the jukebox chimed in. Yeah, he didn't start anything. Hank's been on edge since the moment he walked in. The male officer turned back to Terrence, his voice now tinged with curiosity. Do you have any proof of your service, sir? Terrence nodded, his movements deliberate as he gestured toward a duffel bag on the floor by his table. In there. My uniform, with name and rank. ID and wallet too. You're welcome to check. The officer knelt and unzipped the bag, revealing a neatly folded uniform adorned with badges and insignias that glinted under the dim bar lights. He inspected it carefully, then glanced at his partner, who gave a subtle nod of confirmation. You're clear, the officer said, his tone shifting to one of respect. Thanks for your cooperation. Hank, still nursing his bruised ego, snarled. You're just gonna take his word for it? He could have faked all that. The female officer's gaze turned sharp, slicing through his bluster. Enough. From what I've heard, you're the one who instigated this. You're lucky he's not pressing charges. The words struck like a slap, deflating Hank's bravado. Around him, the bikers shifted uncomfortably, avoiding everyone's eyes. The male officer spoke again, his voice steady and final. Here's what's going to happen. We're filing a report. If you want to pursue your claims, you can, but know this. False accusations are a serious matter. Hank opened his mouth to argue but thought better of it, his lips snapping shut. The officer scanned the room one last time before stepping toward the door. The female officer turned back briefly, her expression softening as she addressed Terrence. Thank you for keeping your cool. We'll make sure this is documented properly. Terrence nodded, his calm composure unwavering. Thank you, officer. As the officers left, the bikers shuffled out behind them, their earlier swagger now replaced with awkward silence. Hank cast one last venomous glare at Terrence before disappearing into the night. The bar slowly began to hum again, the tension melting away. Terrence returned to his seat, his drink still untouched. Though the confrontation had passed, its weight lingered in the air. Around him, whispers carried a new tone, respect.